Hello, Eric Eisenhut here from GK Icon Academies USA, and we today are in episode 13 of our Goalkeeper Coaches panel discussions. With us today, we have Steve Rerick. Steve is a goalkeeper coach at Slippery Rock University on the men's program, and he's also a DOC of goalkeeping at a local club here in Pittsburgh. With us today, we also have special guest Christian Benjamin. And Christian, I'm going to share, before we get into you, sir, I'm going to share your website if I can, because I want everyone to get a good peek at this while I speak through to it. Right now, Christian is the owner and the main operator of Keeper Stop. And Keeper Stop is a site that's dedicated to providing the best in goalkeeper equipment and education that I've seen. It is an awesome site, and Christian knows the ins and outs of everything goalkeeping, from equipment to padded pants, padded tops. Goalkeeper gloves is going to be the primary focal point today. There's also education on there too. It's an awesome site. I highly recommend everyone get on there. We'll speak more to that in a moment, but let's get right into our conversation. Hello, fellas.
How are you?
How's it going?
Good. Steve, how are you?
Thanks for having us.
Doing well. Excited to be here.
Me too. This is a topic of conversation that I have all the time with my goalkeepers, but mostly with the goalkeepers' parents. And literally, I'm just going to jump right into this. So, Christian, I'm going to start with you. What's the basic 10,000-foot guideline to buying the right glove for a goalkeeper?
So, just to use a visual, it's all about this. This is dollars. All right, these are just dollars. There's nothing larger than that. They're just dollars. It really comes down to a family budget. That's all it comes down to. There's some misconceptions in the goalkeeper world, is that, the more you spend, the better the glove, or, that you can find a unicorn at $50. It's hard to find that balance. But the reality is goalkeeping equipment and goalkeeping gloves is a critical part of a player's development. And part of that development, obviously, is what the family can afford. And I always say that there is a goalkeeper glove for everyone. And what I mean by that is, whether you have a budget for the top-of-the-line Royston, which we'll go over more, or you're looking for something more of a value range. We have a one glove here. We also have some, GK Icon gloves around here as well. Again, you get what you pay for in goalkeeper gloves. And the most important thing is you find a glove that fits your family budget, because you may have to sacrifice a couple things. Maybe it's grip, or maybe it's the quality of finger protection. But at the end of the day, your family has to be able to replace those gloves. You have to be able to play and train your best. So you need a glove that fits both, looking like a pro, but also finds that balance of functionality for the price of what your family budget is.
Well said. I agree with that. And one thing I want to go back to you real quickly on that is, when looking at a glove online, you see bullet points in the description of the gloves, and you see a lot of the same bullet points through when you look at a particular glove and comparing it to another, but the price ranges are different. And what I mean by that is, a glove of, say, Nike or Rerick might be a little different than the one glove or GK Icon, but the descriptions in the details of those gloves online are relatively the same. Talk to me about the budget there, and what's your recommendation when the kids or when parents see that?
So first off, as I said, we said it's the budget first, right? But within that, now you have to determine, is it a game or practice glove? And for example, here, if I can just undo them while we're talking, we have a Royce Attract R3, and it has an R3 latex. You're looking at somewhere around the $50 or $60 price range. And again, this is a major manufacturer. It's Adidas, Nike, Royce, as far as the top goalkeeper glove brands in the world, based on volume, based on spend. The R3 latex will give you a practice latex. Using the Royce as well, you can go to the G3 Evolution, which is the new Attract range. And now the bells and whistles that you get are a little bit different. I mean, you saw the other glove. It was pretty standard as far as how it looked. It was a flat palm cut. And now you have the Royce a track G3, which is a speckled palm, which has soft and hard ground elements to it. There's elasticated stitching. You have mesh. You have, and I don't like using the term, but there's a lot of bells and whistles to it. This glove with the bells and whistles, now you're well over $100. But again, you get game performance. So you got to determine, do you want game performance or do you want practice? And then you also have to determine, utilizing the Reusch glove as well, you have to determine whether you want finger protection. Finger protection increases the cost of the glove. And there is a big difference in the quality of your finger protection. You can be in and there's a lot of great gloves being made in Pakistan right now or Bangladesh or wherever, but you could be in a finger protection glove that doesn't have quite the same, as you can see, they look far different. And that's not pulled out of any glove in particular, but this is the Reusch finger protection system. You can tell that it's a dual density stay. I mean, I'm trying to break this thing. It looks like joints in it where you have this cheaper finger protection stay, which, here we go, that's your finger broken. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have the same quality to it. But again, there's always going to be sacrifices. Every parent and every goalkeeper is like, I want the best finger protection. I want a game glove. I want the durability and the half-life of iron, but I want to spend $70. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to be 6'4" and playing for Manchester United as well. But it just, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts related to it. So again, game of practice, finger protection or not, and you saw the Reusch finger protection. And then lastly, but I think that goalkeepers put too much emphasis on, is the cut. I'll use the GK icon, the iconic flow, as an example. James Clark, if you're watching this eventually, this should make you happy. Richard Lee, you're my goalkeeping boy, all right, my brother.
Mine too, both of them.
Utilizing the iconic flow. You know what? You have, okay, if your requirement is game latex, this is soft as as a puppy or a kitten. This is beautiful. It's a negative cut, which is a cut. But as you can see, I mean, I have a size 9 hand. This is a tight fitting cut, negative cut, and it's great for some goalkeepers. So the last part of that, I think, is the cut. And the reason why it's the last is because that's your preference, but it's not going to be your overall first decision maker. Budget, finger protection or not, and then the cut. And the reason why is I'm 5'10" and a half and 200 pounds, with, in the best of days, a really tight negative cut like the GK Iconic Flow, or even utilizing the creme de la creme of negative cuts that everybody wants. These are the Manuel Neuers from Adidas, the Predator Pro Manuel Neuers. For some goalkeepers, 5'10" and a half, 200 pounds, I have meat hooks for hands, I have strong wrists. There's some goalkeepers that are going to struggle pulling this glove, which everybody wants. De Gea is in it. Ter Stegen's in it. Manuel Neuer is in it. Who doesn't want this beauty? But the reality is you want to extend your investment as long as you can. You want to make sure your game glove lasts as long as possible, as well as your practice. So you have to pick the right latex for practice. You got to pick the right fit so it fits your body. 6'4" goalkeeper built like a spider monkey, negative cut is your choice. Female goalkeeper, make a negative cut. But if you're built like a box, like a lot of goalkeepers that play Sunday League, there's a lot of choices out there, which we can go over.
Yeah. I'm going to get back to a lot of those points, Christian, that you spoke to. I want to speak to the finger save differences and pros and cons to it, and when people should, quote unquote, graduate from the finger save, so to speak. So I do believe that's a younger age goalkeeper for protection. But I also first want to start with, you mentioned it, and I was glad you did, having a game glove versus a practice glove. And Steve, I'm going to go to you on this one. You are heavily involved in the academy level, as I am. And when do you see kids start to invest in a game goalkeeper glove versus a practice goalkeeper glove? And are they the same glove or are they different? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so with working with the academy levels, I see kids at the very young age group that come in and, they kind of get the hand-me-down glove where their parents have no idea kind of the different specs that Christian touched on. and they're just kind of grabbing any pair of glove off the shelf, trying to go and bring it in. And I also see kids that don't even have goalie gloves trying to come to practice, and they use their friends and they see how important those gloves are. But in terms of getting in between that practice and the game pair, I typically see that more towards once you get to that competitive age, maybe around, it's like the 15, 16, once they start to get into that competitive club atmosphere where, game time maybe isn't split 50-50 if there are two goalies on a team, and, there's that competitive edge where in the game you need that game performance, and you have that training pair of gloves where that's your one where, you can kind of go and, for lack of a better term, beat them until you need to replace them. And then once you get in that game, you have that pristine, clean grip that you can go and hold everything with.
Steve, how many pairs of gloves do your college goalkeepers have on average?
So funny you ask. I have 3 very different goalkeepers. I try and encourage all of them to have at least 2 pairs of practice gloves, since we do have such a heavy training workload. If one pair is being used, say like on Monday, and it's pouring down rain outside, then on that Tuesday, you're going to want to still have a good practice pair of gloves that, is dried out, that you can use. And then at least a 3rd pair that I try and have them keep for games only. And really, again, like Christian said, to keep that game pair as clean as possible.
Yeah. Christian, when you are recommending gloves, a practice pair versus a game pair, do you recommend the same glove, or are you suggesting two different types of gloves based on cost and the budget?
It really depends on the goalkeeper. So as a longtime owner of Keeper Stop, but prior to me owning Keeper Stop, I was a goalkeeper. I played in high school, played in college, coached in college, coached semi-pro. And the reality is that you're going to find the balance that works for you. And you have 2 schools of thought in that. There are some goalkeepers when budget really isn't a consideration, so budget doesn't matter, as well as you want the best performance all the time. You're going to have goalkeepers that want the best performance all the time and don't have a budget. They may buy a couple pairs of gloves and just cycle through them. Mm-hmm. So, for example, utilizing an Adidas Finger Save goalkeeper glove that I have here, this is the Finger Save, they may buy a couple of pairs of those, and when it starts to wear down, that game pair, then it just gets relegated to the practice ranks. So halfway through the life of the glove, then that gets sent to the practice ranks, and then they'll break out a new pair that just stays at the game. Once that practice pair is just done, you're down to the backing fabric, it doesn't have the grip you want anymore, then they get thrown out and you relegate the game pair down. And the reason why that is important at the higher levels is that in goalkeeping, as we spoke about, it is such a critical part of your training, is that goalkeeping equipment, it helps you feel like a gladiator. It's not just up here, but it's also what's on you as well. There is a connection. I mean, why do you think goalkeepers have these bright goalkeeper jerseys sometimes, or black uniforms? It's like they want to have a certain persona. They want to be bright and colorful and they be that peacock out there, or they want to be Batman or a gladiator and be like, I am the boss, I will save you. And so goalkeeping equipment is part of that. So anyways, back to the goalkeeping side of it, the glove side of it, it's, you can relegate them to the practice rink, but you want that confidence. That confidence is what helps you catch a ball, helps you make a save, whether it's practice or games. So what I always say is whatever is going to help the goalkeeper have that confidence during practice as well as games. And again, going back to the family budget, if a parent says, you know what, I can spend $100 on a game pair of gloves, that's my budget, great, but I cannot spend that on a practice glove, I would try to find Keeper Stop. That's what we're good at here, is we can help goalkeepers and families, whether it's the same manufacturer or a different manufacturer, try to find a similar fit in practice as well as games. And to be a little bit more precise, like, so you have a roll finger in the Royce range, you would want to be, a flat palm in the Royce range, you'd want to be a flat palm in the game glove. If you're in a roll finger by Elite, the Elite Sport white solo, if you're in a roll finger by Elite at practice, this is a $50 or $60 pair of gloves, maybe we put them in an $80 or $90 game pair of gloves, slightly better latex. So I would try to find something that fits, if possible, the same, if you cannot do the same exact glove throughout.
I like that a lot, actually. And that's funny because I'll talk to parents and they come to me about the budget first and foremost. That's always the conversation point. And it's, hey, I'm online. I see this game pair that my son wants for $150. And what I try and tell them is the price, you can find that same glove in a different brand if budget is your issue. So if budget's your issue, you can find that same glove or put the same specs or the same specifics on a glove in a different brand at a cheaper cost. It's just a matter of researching it and finding it. And training with the same type of glove, I think, is very important because going from one totally different cut glove to another, there are differences. And if you're handling a ball in a certain way in practice and you're not in a game, you're going to have that bobble. You're going to have that hard time with the glove sticking. And I find that that's difficult. So I always try and tell when I'm dealing with parents, at a younger age, I feel, and I want to get the finger protection in a moment, but buying two gloves is important because how many of us really see younger gloves, A, washing gloves or caring for them? I want to talk to that in a moment too. But B, is it worth the investment? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to push away from the high expensive gloves because as you get better and move up the ranks, you're going to want that high performing elite glove that have less protection, right? Like you were mentioning some of the gloves, like these bend, and these are like, this isn't much protection for a younger kid. But then you get into the finger saves, that's a different glove. So you're going to want different gloves for the different development levels.
Yeah, just to expand a little bit on that.
Please.
It goes down to feel. So,
Yes.
all right, you want the same feel. You can find gloves, maybe they differ a little bit. So it's, whether it's a roll negative or a full negative, you can find stuff that's similar. All right. And I will say, and this may be a topic for argument, or debate, which is great, is that you cannot compare. And if they do, I don't think they're being truthful. You cannot compare the high-end Reusch, Uhlsport, Nike, or Adidas. You cannot compare those with second-tier manufacturers, the budget manufacturers. And budget is not a negative word. Budget means I can afford it. We sell a ton of elite sport gloves. We're selling a ton of GK Icon gloves now. And what I say to a lot of these second-tier manufacturers is they're worn by the pros, but they're affordable to us all. That's important to remember, where some Reusch gloves worn by a lot more pros, or the Adidas worn by a lot more pros, but you're paying their salaries to wear those gloves. But they have some of the best technology. The technology comes out of the Reusches of the world, the Adidas of the world, and the Nikes of the world. I know the guys that patented the latexes and patented the finger protection system. So we have to be careful of how we compare, and especially parents. You have to remember gloves are perishables. I'll use a car analogy because I drive a soccer mom's car. And you know what? I'm a soccer dad now, and I run camps. I love it, But if I drive a Honda Pilot, hey, it fits my needs. It's spacious. It's comfortable. It's like riding in my living room. But it's not the sexiest car in the entire world. It's functional for me. I want a Range Rover Sport. Range Rover, I want some residuals on this advertising here. I want a Range Rover Sport because it's stylish. It's whatever. So you got to figure out what your budget is, because you know what? I want Range Rover style and Mercedes and BMW style, but I can't afford the $1,000 a month payment, right? So that is really what it comes down to. And that's what you need. You need somebody like you, Eric, or somebody like us, or Steve, or anybody else. You need us. You need people guiding you. There's just too many charlatans in goalkeeper coaching, and there's too many charlatans in goalkeeper glove advice, because you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to push their own agendas. Truthfully, I'm going to spend, and last soapbox right here, I'm going to spend your money like it's my money, right? And I'm a frugal guy. I want to make sure that I make the goalkeeper happy, to make sure that they're in the best glove based on price and use, right? Price, performance, use, kind of the same thing. Everybody's happier at that point in time rather than pushing whatever they want. And by the way, this is not a GK Icon, infomercial, but I love what James is trying to do with the gloves. I mean, this latex is exceptional. And we're talking at $70 in that $60-$70 range, and nobody can compare to that,
Yeah, two things. One, I love your comparison to the used car analogy. I'm going to steal that from you, Christian. I'll give you props. I'll send you my residual check in the mail. But that's a great comparison. It comes down to what do you need it for? What's the purpose? Is it efficient for your use or not? I'm absolutely going to use that. Steve, let's quickly get into finger protection and finger saves. When do you see people using them? What's your advice? And when do you see people they are removable? When do you see them start to remove it?
So finger protection for me at the younger age is crucial. I see finger protection more so at the ages where, maybe their handling technique isn't, the best, or the shot power of the kids that they're playing with is kind of exceeding where they're at technically. So you want to protect your investment. You want to protect your hands. As keepers, you need to protect your hands. That's why you see all of the professional guys taping up their fingers, taping up their wrists, making sure that they have as much protection as what they can. So at the younger age, I think that it is absolutely critical, especially when you're learning how to get that contour catch and everything else in with it. As you're getting older and your technique is getting more well-developed, that's when I can see kids right around like that 14, 15-year-old range, in my opinion, where maybe they don't take all of their finger saves out. They maybe take out one or two. And, it's on their stronger fingers. So that way, they can kind of gradually step down from finger saves. At the college level, what I always tell my goalies is they shouldn't really need finger saves. At that point, their technique should be spot on. So that way, the only risk is if it's a funny bobble, if there's a knuckle on the ball or something like that, to where that's the only damage that they're going to get to their fingers. But their technique should be good enough at that point, in my opinion, to where they should be able to manage, and they should have the strength in their hands and the dexterity in their fingers to manage any type of shot and anything like that.
Christian, what's your take on finger save? Support? You go against it? What do you like or dislike?
My opinion is whatever's best for the goalkeeper. As goalkeeper coaches, and Steve, I agree with you, but just to expand upon that, there's a variety of reasons to wear finger protection. Don't tell Chesney not to wear finger protection because he wears Royce finger protection. He helped design the Orthotech system. There are far fewer professionals that use finger protection that don't use finger protection, do not use finger protection, than do. Typically, pros want that minimalist. They want, when it comes to nanoseconds of catching a ball or catch versus deflect, they want to have as much control as possible. And frankly, a lot of catching is not done these days. It's more deflecting, right? But so with finger protection, it comes down to personal choice. Youth goalkeepers typically use it more because it's an issue of strength and protection. But a little fun fact is Adidas didn't design finger saves because of protection initially. It was designed to be a catching aid. So that was the original premise behind the Adidas finger saves. And again, Adidas finger saves are one of the top finger save systems available. I mean, I'm barely pushing it down, and it provides that safety back. So as the godfather or the creators of finger save technology, they created an entire industry. And that industry, again, is based on strength. It's based on technique. It is based on the people you're playing against. As you indicated, Steve, if you're playing up an age group and you're facing harder shots. So as a young goalkeeper, if your fingers are not quite strong enough and your technique is not quite good enough, you may have a tendency to bend your fingers back. So it's a support mechanism. For me, the top three are Royce, Uhlsport, and Adidas, the best technologies available. But with that technology being the best technology available, there's some sacrifices. You're adding rigidity to a glove. That rigidity to a glove is why pros don't use them, right? But again, they will use them, as Steve said, maybe in certain fingers or tape their fingers. They'll customize them. And there's a lot of gloves. I have an elite glove here that it's removable through the backhand. The Royce is removable through the backhand, and then you got to think about, do you want 5 fingers? Do you want in the thumb as well, or just the 4-finger? So I think that as goalkeeper coaches, we can kind of tell what parents and goalkeepers what we prefer. But I think there's too many goalkeeper coaches saying, no, you cannot use finger protection the reality, the unfortunate part of that is if we say no, then we are responsible for if a goalkeeper sprains a finger. We are responsible for a goalkeeper that breaks a finger. And that's a little harsh, but, we could teach them all the technique they want, but it goes back to the first thing I said. It's based on preference. If they prefer it, it is our job to remind them when you're catching the ball using a Rerick, which tends to be a little bit more rigid, but offers the most protection. We have to remind the goalkeepers to, hey, active fingers. Make sure you're squeezing at the catch. I saw you hit it with your palm. You don't have the luxury. You got to squeeze it. If you find them, making a lot of mistakes or putting themselves at harm, because again, that rigidity causes you, I think, and Steve alluded to a little bit, and as you did as well, Eric, it causes goalkeepers to drop balls. Okay, so you may be saving their fingers, but now you have a broken nose because your goalkeeper does this every time to stop a ball. It hits the finger saves, drops to the ground, and then the goalkeeper's trying to jump on it. And, I used to be far better looking than this. And, a couple times I broke my nose. I don't use finger protection. I've always been, unfortunately, this. But, that's what you find is goalkeepers putting themselves further at risk because parents automatically think, I need finger protection because I need to protect them. What does your goalkeeper want? That is the question.
Yeah. As a parent, well, honestly, that's great. I love how you said that because I see a lot of parents ordering online, right, without trying on the glove. And to me, that's important. A kid needs to try on the glove to see what the fit is and the comfort level is to their hands. But from a parent's perspective, I'm a parent.
Easy.
Go ahead.
I said easy. You don't need to just try them on.
You know what I mean? So
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Sorry.
Fair enough. But I think when kids try on their gloves, they know how the fit is. They know how what the feel is. But from a parent, I have two goalkeepers of my kid. Both my kids play goal. One's 9, one's 12. And my 12-year-old just graduated out of finger saves. When I say graduated, I believe that a shot from a 10-year-old soccer player is more mature than a goalkeeper's hands at that age. So the shot's going to come hard. The goalkeeper's hands aren't technically there yet. There's more likely a goalkeeper's going to get injured than a field player or anyone else for that matter. So I'm back to the protection piece. I'd rather my kids have strong hands and drop that ball in front of them with proper technique and focus on the technique of, getting the ball, have it go in front of you, even though they can't squeeze. I shouldn't say it can't squeeze because some are very tight, some are very loose. So it comes down to the brand and the type of finger saves that you're utilizing. But protect your investment, as Steve mentioned earlier. And again, the other part is when a younger kid's in finger saves and you're teaching them to box, they have a hard time squeezing those hands if they're really stiff. So you don't see kids boxing or punching a ball on crosses. Not that that's a big part of their game at that age anyway, but when you do, you're going to see some hindrance to them when they do try to do that. Cool. I want to jump into, we have probably 10 minutes left, a little less than that. I want to jump into real quickly. Let me ask, Christian, anything else you want to add about gloves?
Just again, make sure you're picking a glove that fits your budget. Keeper Stop started this because, going into a sports store, there's not as many options. Yeah. We are goalkeeper glove experts. We know there's probably 2 other people that know more about goalkeeper gloves in the country or even the world than we do here. And that's the guys in Adidas, Nike, maybe Rerick. These are the guys. And, that's why we're here. So if anybody has any questions about goalkeeper gloves, we're okay. Ask away.
Yeah.
As you said, Eric, order gloves and try them on. Just don't touch a ball, and we can help you through that process.
Yeah. Cool. Steve, anything you want to add about gloves before we move on? Next topic.
No, Christian did a fantastic job. Me, myself, being a young goalkeeper coach, even from this, I've learned a ton from what Christian was saying. So very well said.
The Yoda of goalkeeping equipment. I love it. Let's go with that, though. Steve, I'm going to stay with you if I can. Slippery Rock, you're running a training session. What type of equipment do you find is essential to your sessions? Not only at the Slippery Rock level, but I also want you to talk about work with the academy level. What piece of equipment is your go-to? Give me 3 right off the bat if you can.
Yeah, so the way that I conduct my sessions is I'm not a huge fan of the big, horse and pony show where guys have, hundreds or even sometimes thousands of dollars worth of equipment sitting out on the field just so that way it looks that little bit better. I'm very minimal with my sessions. I try and keep it as game realistic as possible. With that said, I have three main types of equipment that I use. One is the handheld rebounder. You can also find that on Keeper Stop. Working on rebounds and crosses and stuff like that, I think that it's fantastic for coaches to be able to use. It's a lot more accurate than me trying to use my head to try and knot it down into a corner, or, even trying to punch it into a corner. You have so much more control over it, and it's great for the rebound. It's game realistic, and my keepers absolutely love using it. The next would be the Skills Recoil 360 resistance band. That is a resistance band essentially that gets wrapped around your waist. I use it primarily for strengthening my keepers' power steps when they're diving, so they have that little bit of resistance as they're taking that power step. It helps strengthen going up for an aerial ball, trying to claim a cross, help with that power step going forward and driving that knee up. And also, if you have a little bit of resistance on their footwork, I think that is something huge for goalkeepers, is using resistance bands and things like that to help strengthen specific areas of their game. And last would be the Quick Goal Air Tom, also found on Keeper Stop, that I have used religiously on my crossing drills, for even shooting drills, just going and putting something in front of the keepers, making them think, hey, is this going to deflect off that side? If so, how is it going to deflect? And it really changes up and adds a lot to a training session, I think.
Yeah, the sight lines too. I like that a lot. Christian, what's your take on the equipment? What are you into, the bells and whistles? Do you just, when you talk to a coach, are you just recommending certain things? Does it matter at the college versus academy level? What's your take on equipment?
My take on equipment is easy. You don't need any, truthfully, right? You just need to have an idea of what your session is going to be. At the youth level, I utilize ropes. At the college level, I utilize ropes a lot, just so that they can see the angles. Cone markers, just so that they can, judge 6 yards, or, how they're changing angles. But it's truly, you don't need it. If you have the budget, great. We sell ball shooters for $6,000. We have the Globus ball shooters that Gigi Buffon has. He has got 2 of them. We have one sitting out here right now for a ball shooter. We have the deflectors. They're all great, but truthfully, the only thing you need is cones and maybe some ropes and some good balls. That's it. I mean, balls are the most important. As a good friend of ours, Dan Gaspar, in that ball are your hopes, dreams, and aspirations inside that ball. That is the most important tool, equipment that you can have. Second is the gloves. And if I may add about your training equipment, Steve, if you're running a big time session, make a breakaway session, you want your goalkeepers to be outfitted correctly. And I'm not saying show up like a knight and they're covered from head to toe, but whatever makes them feel more appropriate. And it bothers me when you have female goalkeepers that show up with tank tops on, or you have male goalkeepers with their shorts tucked into their, compression underwear, showing off their quads. That's unprofessional, and it's going to cause injury. I've seen it. I was a 10-year Division I assistant coach and goalkeeper coach, and I had goalkeepers sometimes, and they would forget to wear their compression leggings or their compression shorts, and they would get bruises or raspberries because we're playing on turf, and they're like, oh, well, my side hurts. It's your own fault. You need to wear proper equipment when you're training. Bare minimum, a compression short, could be padded or unpadded, or a compression legging. And you want something covering up as much skin as it's comfortable for you. There's no reason why a goalkeeper should be out there in nothing or next to nothing, because they want to feel free and they feel more liberated. Because you know what? You're setting yourself up for injury or bad technique. If you ever watched pro goalkeepers train, they're covered. And the reason why they're covered is because scars, scrapes, and bruises, they're not sexy.
I'm not even going to repeat anything because I agree 100% with what you said. Christian, nothing gets me more upset when I'm getting ready to run a training session and I see a kid in a T-shirt and shorts with no protection on their legs or arms. And then you see them change their technique so it doesn't hurt, as opposed to doing the proper technique. So they're hurting themselves is what I say to kids all the time. But yeah, well said. Well said.
Let me add one more thing to it.
Go.
It's like a brand that I sell a lot of. And again, it's Claudio Storelli is a friend of mine. But it's amazing stuff. You don't want just a marketing company on you. Like Storelli, this is a Storelli shirt, by the way, but I sell a ton of Storelli. And the reason why is because it's military grade, pour-on foam. It's elastic. It fits you the way it is. But again, with equipment, you gotta pick stuff that fits your budget. You know, if you want high end, you have certain opportunities. We sell a ton of elite sport padded compression stuff as well. Because most important, I don't even care if a goalkeeper is in a padded compression short. It's got to meet their budget. Elite sport goalkeeping equipment, from their shirt to legging, it's great. It fits a budget, right? But there's some goalkeepers that can't afford that. I tell them, hey, cut a pair of your old training pants to 3/4 pants. Use what you have. Just make sure you are covered appropriately.
Yeah, well done. 3 minutes. Steve, I'm going to go back to you. Wrap it up for me, sir. What would you emphasize to any goalkeeper or parent or coach right now based on our discussion?
Yeah, so much like what Christian was saying earlier, is when you're looking at, equipment, gloves, really anything, you really need to go down to what your personal preference is and what that budget is. I love that Christian said that. I can't hit that home enough. You don't need the $150 gloves for practice. Essentially, you can go out with a $50, $70 pair of gloves for practice. It's whatever you're comfortable in, whatever is going to make you confident in order for you to save that ball. Because at the end of the day, that's what the keeper's job is, to keep that ball out of the net.
Right on. Christian, we have less than 2 minutes. Wrap it up for me, sir.
Okay. So for me, do your research. Parents, goalkeepers, we're here for you. Keeper Stop is here for you. It's for goalkeepers by goalkeepers, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is that try to navigate through marketing speak and functionality, okay? That's where we can help you.
I love it. I love it. Good. Oops. Sorry. I keeperstop.com. Christian, I love what you do. I tell my kids to go there all the time. It's a great place, guys. Go there for all your equipment. If you have any questions, Christian, is there a place they can go for questions?
Yeah, come to keeperstop.com. You can email us directly or go to social media. Follow us. KeeperStopGK on Instagram.
Awesome. Guys, Steve, Christian, always a pleasure, my friends. I will talk to you both on the flip side.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.